Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
Yo. We are back. This is Stay to the Point Radio on WFS 91. And we are back, like I said. And here is Jasmine. I want to speak to Jasmine about her YouTube video, YouTube channels. If y'all haven't checked it out, please, Jazz, put the plug in real quick. If y'all have not yet subscribed or even checked it out, put your plug in for your YouTube.
My YouTube channel is Jas Wilson. Yeah, and also I just recently, this Valentine's Day, what was that, 3-4 months ago, started a podcast with my best friend called the Dreamcast. So if y'all want to follow that as well, that's on Facebook.
Nice.
And SoundCloud. Hey, sister!
She said, "Hey, sister." But anyway.
She can't do that because now I want to call. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
So I've been checking it out. You know, I've been there from the start when you first started. Been trying to catch as many videos as possible. You do a lot with your family. You know, You do a lot with Mitch, my brother-in-law, my nieces, my Angel Nevea, Kaden. So what was the logic when you first started your YouTube video? What was the mind state? What was you trying to do originally?
I started YouTube originally for dance purposes. My first love is dance. And then being a stay-at-home mom, it does a hell of a lot on your mental. I moved to Florida, had to be a stay-at-home mom for a while for my husband's health reasons and all types of other reasons. So I was like, what can I do to express myself? And then I was hit with my journey to therapy. I've been in therapy for a year. I think it's very important, especially for the Black community, to be open about that sort of thing. So then this was my way of documenting me and how I progress in my life, and at the same time connecting with others. And I talk a little bit about that on my channel. I started poetry all at the same time. So I also like to dance and interpret my poetry. So it's like a mix of all of that into one.
Okay. So your pretty much your YouTube is your therapy, is your way to release things.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of things that I didn't know about you. Just besides the dancing, you always been dancing. That was your thing back since Kinsville High School. Which by the way, I hated.
Exposed me like that.
I hated that. I hated that track, by the way. I hated that track. That was the worst track to run on. That shit had hills. You remember Shay, right? That shit had hills. Anyways, so I remember my sister back in the day. She was always into dancing. She used to use her artiste in that. She had a lot of multicolors. She did the graffiti art in the shirt with the bubbles and all that shit. I really thought she was born in the 80s for real.
I want to be.
So yeah. Right, you were just an era late, but so it was really cool when she started her YouTube channel. I was really proud of her because it was just her way to kind of like not only put herself out there, but she put her kids. You know, Mitch is a hilarious guy, very funny dude. So it kind of made sense. Now with all that's going on, with everything that with the public, the way it is now with the protesting and everything, how have you attached your YouTube channel to what's going on now?
That has been the hardest thing for me. I took a 3-week hiatus from YouTube. I did drop that TikTok.
You froze.
Oh no.
See, but that,
You freezing.
everything, and it just uploads on its own. What happened?
No, you were freezing. You got to repeat that whole spot that you just did.
Yeah, dang. Where'd you last hear me?
Yo, right when I asked that question, you hit the. So I need you to do it one more time.
All right. So when it comes to the movement and everything, I went on a 3-week break from YouTube. I didn't know how to put that into my YouTube. I didn't want to go about YouTube like nothing ain't happening. So I wanted to give it its moment. That TikTok video I recently released was something I previously recorded. Right now, I am working on a video with how to communicate with your children about what's going on in the world. And that is what I'm currently going to release, I think, next week, on how me and Mitch talk to our kids about what's going on, not to scare them, not to traumatize them. We're not going to go head over heels, look at this video of the death of so-and-so, but it's important for your kids to know, because how me and you were raised, mom tried to keep us, for the most part, kids need to be kids. And as much as I agree, when we hit a certain age, it was this overwhelming, this is the world, this is life, this is, you kind of had to learn that on your own. And for my kids, at least, I want them to be aware of things, so it's not so much of a overwhelming sensation when, why is this happening? What's going on? What could I do? So I just want to share that with everybody.
You know what? It's really interesting how you mentioned that, because I think I was talking to Sherry, or I think it was Sherry and Fuego at the same time about this. I think Sean, I think that was around the time, it was one of those weeks that you were out,
Okay.
but it was that conversation about having that conversation with your kids of what's going on.
Right.
What is the right time? You know, how can you start that conversation about how the environment is, and how everybody's not your friend. That's not your sister. Everybody's not your sister. Everybody's like, it's how things they so innocent. So you don't want, like Jasmine was saying, you don't want to scare them, but you kind of have to let them know, because they at that stage, like they in school. So
it's already started. It's already started over here. The girls have gotten into an altercation already with a fifth grader, a white boy, who said some super nasty things. The school did not inform me about these things, and they knew about these things. And we all know about the suicide rates of children. This is something that I should have known 2 weeks ago, prior to it happening. And I had to find out by my daughter crying to her father about why she isn't as pretty as the other girls, because a white boy told her that his family and him don't like Black people. This is why we don't like Black people. And all the reasons why she was not attracted to him. And this is what I feel like, that's when you should talk to your kids, when it's brought to them, and in this day and age it is. And it's like, okay, little kids are little kids. He learned that from somewhere, right? My issue is, this is where the school should have contacted me, because my kids told their teacher. Their teacher had a whole conversation about it. The principal knew about it. Everyone knew about it but me. So why is it 2 weeks later that my child, when their father says, she just got her hair done, he's like, you're so beautiful, breaks down crying? Is that normal behavior?
I don't think I would have handled that well.
Right.
I wouldn't. Not that I wouldn't have handled it well because of what he said. You know why? Because people are going to say things, and so I wouldn't have handled it well because the school didn't handle it well. So my response to the school would have been, they wouldn't have liked my response to the school.
They didn't like mine.
I'm telling you, I'm talking about letters to every superintendent that I could email, that I could find. And a sit-down meeting with the teacher and the principal and the counselor and everybody at that school, because they need to have a whole understanding that that's unacceptable. You know what I'm saying? And there's no
a predominantly white school at that.
Yeah, it's usually like that. Yeah.
Yep.
That's crazy.
So yeah, that conversation, I mean, that right there, I didn't know about that. Thank God I'm not there. But yeah, it's, one thing about it is, obviously we're not going to be able to stop what other people's comments and their opinions are towards the innocent, the ones that are, you know, obviously not immune to what's going on. Obviously with us, we heard it before, we've been through it before. we got racial profiled many times. I know I did. I'm just gonna speak for myself. I know I did. Shit, I got pulled over because I had too much stuff on my rearview mirror. I had one that stopped me because my seat was too far back. Like, it's just the littlest things of where just to find a way to see, okay, this guy looks like a thug. He looked like he's bad news. Now we have our kids. I know mine's is 8 and 11. So one's about to go into 3rd grade. The other one is about to be a freaking 6th grader. It's really like, I don't know. It's really hard to kind of speak about that because of fact that I don't want them to be so cautious to the point that they don't trust.
They don't live.
Yes, and they don't trust.
Mm-hmm.
But they're becoming tough. You know, I mean, I think as parents, we are their mirrors of how they want to look, just how they want to act, how they want to be. So that also goes for other kids. So if their father is bad and they say ignorant shit, they're going to turn around and say ignorant shit. So it's just like we got to prepare for that. Like we will prepare for anything else. Yeah. So let's get back to it. The podcast, Dreamcast. What is that about? How's that going? And when did you start that?
I started it February 14th, 2019. So it was a Valentine's Day. I started it for the same reason I started my YouTube. It was one of those things where I was at my lowest and I wanted to express myself. My best friend, Alexis, she's been, don't want to put her business out there. She's been through a lot. She's very much like me, very expressive, and she's grown up admiring Joe Budden's podcast, like so many different podcasts. That's her thing. Podcasts are her thing. So I was like, you know what? Let's build that. And she's like, well, I don't know how to edit. I said, I got you, because I feel like everyone should feel this form of, to me, therapy. I feel like podcasts, expressing yourself is a form of therapy. I encourage it. I will edit it, and it's just me and her vibing on different things. We spoke about Black Lives Matter. We spoke about friendships, love languages, parenting. She's a mom as well. Just struggles of life and what to love about life to get through the struggles of life.
Yeah.
We named it the Dream Class, though, because we both love video games. So it just fit. Podcast Dreamcast.
I remember Dreamcast it came and went really fast.
I had one of those.
Yeah, I had NFL 2K when Randy Moss in the front cover. That was my game, bro. Ugh, that was my game. Anyway,
check it out. And we talk about dreams every single time. We're big on dreams, and that's another way your mind is trying to give you advice. Little did you know, everything you dream about is what you think about. So,
right. Yeah. Amen. I mean, definitely send me that tag. Send me that name, that tag, and then I'll go ahead and make sure I put it in the description, as well as your YouTube channel, it's the Jas Wilson, which I definitely know. So with that being said, y'all guys, other than that, anything y'all want to talk about? Is there anything that y'all want to kind of express real quick? Anything that y'all spotted and you want to really speak about? Sean?
You keep coming to me.
I don't see Sherry right now. I just see Sherry. Name Sherry.
No, like I just, it's a lot going on right now. Like I said, with the, I'm into astrology, astronomy, all that stuff. So I just think it's a lot going on in terms of the universe and energies and things like that. So I'm just really trying to keep my head. I will say that in terms of the J. Cole Noname situation that happened earlier this week, I didn't really understand where the controversy came from. I heard his Snow on the Bluff, and I'm a big J. Cole fan, but outside of that, not trying to be biased at all, but I genuinely was trying to listen to hear what a lot of my Black sisters were saying, which was that, you know, they felt he was extremely disrespectful and misogynistic, and it was a lot of terms negative, and he was coming for her, and he was shady, and there was a lot of things coming out. And so I was just like, let me listen to this. I actually listened to it like 3 different times, really trying to hear and understand where people were coming from. And I just didn't hear it.
No. Because he never said
so,
it.
you know, I'd love to hear if either of the women on this podcast feel that they, you know, heard that or took his song in that way. I would love to hear the feedback, because I was actually trying to ask some of my friends to listen to it just so they could tell me, because the ones that I talked to, who were kind of the main ones posting stuff about, you know, how dare he come for her and da-da-da, when I'd actually get it one-on-one and ask them in a conversation, you know, like, so tell me what offended you. They were like, oh, I really didn't listen. I didn't listen to the song. I just saw a write-up on it. So they're basing their clapbacks or whatever they were saying on their post on an article, not even on the song. They didn't listen to the song themselves. So I think he was coming from his perspective. I think that he was just stating that he feels that there's people out here, or maybe he didn't even name her. First of all, he didn't even say her name. Now, whether he's talking about her or not, I don't know, because he never denied that it was her. So maybe he was talking about her, but I think all in all, I felt like what he's trying to say was, people look at me to be a certain type of leader or hold a certain type of position because of my fame or because of the money I have behind my name. And so I think what I got from him was he was basically more so critical of himself. Yeah. I thought he was kind of just saying, look, I'm not there, and I don't necessarily feel comfortable to be whatever leader y'all might be expecting of me. Whatever expectations y'all have of me, I don't necessarily feel comfortable to do that. There's other people that I think may be more knowledgeable or may be more equipped to be kind of what you guys are expecting from me, which I think is pretty bold for, I mean, how many artists or how many people on platforms come out and actually say that? Like, so I thought what he was trying to say was that, and then also went into his upbringing and saying how he was raised, or just kind of, you know, he still has a lot of growing to do and a lot of learning to do and a lot of education before he wants to stand on a certain platform and lead a certain movement, but also was addressing the woke people who may know more and saying, you know, kind of watch your tone, or watch how you may come at people, because you may discourage them to ask more questions than encourage them if you come at people in this kind of like authoritative or extra woke way that you know, you should just know this, or you should already be informed about this, or you know, you're dumb if you don't already know this or that in terms of our history. So I'm not sure. I don't know. That's what I took from it. I thought that it was, I didn't think anything was wrong with it. I didn't hear her actual comeback, song 33. I didn't hear her come back.
It was kind of, not to interrupt, it was kind of, it was super short. It was like 1 minute and 14 seconds or 15 seconds of her kind of saying, why you coming at me? It's funny how you coming at me on this, that, and the third. To be honest with you, it's like a person crying wolf when there is none. She started it by talking about Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole, pretty much the conscious rappers. She didn't specifically name the artists from J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, but when you think of conscious rappers and the popular ones, you would think of J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar. I don't know, like the popular ones. They the most popular, they sell the most, so that automatically is the first. So you put it in a bold letter.
Yeah, like Nas, Mos Def,
right.
What's his name? Chance. And yeah, there's a few. Anyway,
so I'm gonna say I'm gonna speak a little bit of just J. Cole's lyrics. Common is definitely another one, but Common, he and by the way, J. Cole was protesting. He did march.
Yeah, he did protest.
Kendrick also marched in Compton. So it was like, for you to come up and I guess she was trying to say musically, but you don't always have to showcase or have to like try to sell how good of a human you are. Just do it. And I think the way she came off, and not for anything, forgive me, like everybody has an opinion, but I really literally had to look her up. I didn't know who she was.
I didn't either.
And that's the point that I was about to make. I'm not even going to sit here and pretend that I heard it because I didn't, but now I'm curious, so I'm going to listen to it. But I think I want to point out the obvious here. The obvious to me is that somebody named Noname is calling out people who we all know. You know what I'm saying?
Ballsy.
I think that it's kind of trolling. You know, I'm just going to put that up. That's what I think she's doing. She's trolling. She's trying to, it's kind of like a publicity stunt, you know. And so she's calling out people that have large followings and that have the cred, and she's trying to call them out to see if she got the attention. Unfortunately, she did get the attention, and I wish that she didn't, because she doesn't deserve it. Because at the end of the day, you know, you can't be concerned about what other people are doing with their platform. If you have a platform, I don't know who she is, but maybe she feels like she has a platform. What are you doing with your platform? You know what I'm saying? What are you doing with your name? Noname. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I just think it's ridiculous. And again, this goes back to kind of the same thing we were talking about with Kyrie Irving and everything. It's like, why do we need to attack each other all the time? Why is that a thing?
Cancel culture. Cancel culture is the most toxic thing, in my opinion. And this is what this is. Jump on the bandwagon. I haven't heard the song, so I'm just going to say whatever. And yes, he's misogynistic, but I haven't heard a damn thing. Like, everybody wants an opinion, and it's a distraction. This whole thing is a damn distraction. So Noname for me is going to go down as a name to distract everybody. From me, what I got is her opinion was, you need to bring attention to the Black community. But by doing so, you called out somebody the Black community respects. And you literally did that. It's very hypocritical. And it doesn't make any sense. It's not fixing anything. Let's not pretend you didn't do this because you're going to call out the big dogs. Now I'm going to make a name for myself. And it's just not needed. It's disrespectful. Like, there's a whole movement going on. You're going to go after somebody past your pay grade. Like, I don't mean to be that person, but.
Yeah. See,
not to mention one of the most conscious artists to me that I recently, first of all, I've heard it before because I have her album, but I listened to it like 100 times in the past couple of days because it's so real. And I'm going to post actually some of the lyrics on Facebook in a little bit. But her song, I Can't Breathe. Holy cow. That is
her. Yeah.
It's her. Yeah. And, you know, like I said, I had heard it before, but only recently, unfortunately, the lyrics are just like, you know, they're abrasive, like when you listen to them, because they're so real and so they are so cut to the, you know, cut deep to the bone real. And then in the form of poetry, it is just almost beautiful. Yeah, it's like,
look up Jaden. That's all I'm saying. Jaden is another one who constantly does poetry for police brutality, and he's constantly overlooked for sure.
Is this Jaden?
Oh no,
yeah.
No,
okay.
Is it you talking about Jaden Smith or because there's another boy. I don't know if his name was Jaden, but I know it started with a J.
Jaden Smith. Yeah,
okay.
He did songs. It's broken up, BLUE. You could look up blue in all parts and pink in all parts, and the entire thing is rapping, poetry, and just educating people that we need new people in the government.
And I never liked how people always attack the Smiths children.
Boy.
Because I think that one thing is that they really allowed their children to be individuals. Right. And I don't know. I personally think that's awesome. And I think both of them turned out well, you know, especially in the lifestyle that they live in Hollywood. That had to be extremely difficult. Right. Extremely difficult. I cannot imagine growing up with Jada Pinkett and Will Smith as a parent. Like, that had to be extremely difficult. Not in the way that we think, like, obviously financially it wasn't difficult.
Yeah, you got to make your own name for yourself.
In other ways.
Jaden is that.
And not to mention, that just water, that's good water.
Fire
Like,
water.
it's so good. Like, nobody talks about this stuff and how they're giving water to, in
This
Michigan and
idea
all that.
he made was at 12 years old to recycle the water.
Crazy.
He designed it at 12 years old. Like, people
And nobody really talks about this. And then it's like Flint, Michigan just went off the map. Nobody's talking about it. And he's doing so much work out there, and it's crazy. I don't know. A lot of times, you just sit there and you think about all of the stuff that people are doing. And from Jaden Smith, I always think about, the water thing. And I always like, why did we stop talking about Flint, Michigan? You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like in the news one day, out the news the next, like it's never happened, but it's still happening. And that's the sad part.
It's true. It's true. But with that being said, with this whole J. Cole, No Names, I guess shout out to No Names. I mean, I know she was trying to put the fire in people's asses, I guess. But it did bring us J. Cole's new song, Snow in the Bluff. As well as there's talks that Kendrick might be coming out with an album. So at least it did that. Again, I hope the best for her. I hope that she finds her niche. But I think calling out people is not for her. This ain't WWE. This is not the way of doing things. That was cool back in the day when 50 Cent did the Ja Rule. But nowadays, that's not the wave anymore. So,
not to interrupt, did you know about Chance and her being close? Chance the rapper?
Did not know.
He actually interjected in the whole thing, and he actually sides with No Name. He had tweeted that he's going to give an L to J. Cole for being a gaslighter.
Wow.
And
Interesting.
He respects both.
This is coming from Chance the Rapper, the most positive rapper in the world.
Yeah, he saw something. Again, I don't know No Name, and I've only heard little bits and pieces of the song, but I'll send you the screenshots after the show of what he said.
Yeah, I would definitely
Very
attach
interesting.
it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't see it. I don't, from what from his song, Snow in the Bluff, I felt like his song was mainly talking about himself. His song was really critical of himself and just kind of basically admitting or exposing that, look, I'm still learning. Like, it had really more to do with that than it had to do with
I actually have the lyrics. In front of me. I must say some of it, most of at least the first verse. He was talking about, I'm not going to say this word, but it's the N-word. Be thinking I'm deep, intelligent, fooled by a college degree. My IQ is average. There's a young lady out there. She's way smarter than me. I scrolled through her timeline in these wild times, and I started to read. She mad at these crackers. She mad at these capitalists. She's mad at the murder police. She mad at the N-word. She mad at our ignorance. She wears her heart on her sleeve. She mad at celebrities. Low-key, I think she's talking about me. Now, I ain't no dummy to think I'm above criticism, so when I see something that's valid, I listen. But shit, it's something about this queen tone that bothers me. She strikes me as something blessed enough to grow up in constant environments with parents that knows about the struggle for libertations in turn they provide with. A prospect awareness of the systems and unfairness that affects them. So that was part of it.
So what I heard in just that, not to cut you off, but just before I forget my thought, he wasn't speaking bad about her. Like, I felt like he was basically saying she grew up in a conscious household.
It was the tone part. That's what it was.
And that was so interesting to me.
But
haven't we all talked about tone? Haven't we all?
Like, that could be said about me and you, Chandra, or even you, Jasmine. Like, it's been said about most
they just
black,
took the tone and ran with it. It's the tone. Out of all that, the tone.
Yeah. And then he goes on.
When I was listening to that, I literally was thinking about myself. Because if you scroll through my timeline, you might get that same idea about me. Wow.
Right. But then he goes on, Sherry, to say that he didn't grow up to talk about how he grew up, which was not woke, which was not around those spaces where he had a lot of knowledge about the, you know, about Black culture and the history and all this other stuff. So he's basically suggesting, and he even says in his lyrics, I don't know, Saya, when you read that part, he says, "Can I respectfully suggest?" That's what he says in his lyrics.
And not only that,
suggest that you talk to people like children, meaning, and so coming from a social worker standpoint, that's always the way I address people. I never meet people where I am, I meet them where they are. Because I would be a fool to assume that someone's life walk is just like mine and that they get things the way I get them. So I listen to people and I reach out to them and I connect with them the way they understand. And so I do think there's a lot of Black people out here who like to talk about, I've been on Juneteenth, y'all just on Juneteenth, or I've been woke, y'all just this, or you just that, or just kind of on this pedestal of like, or why are you up here? All you doing is posting. You know, posting ain't doing nothing. If you about that change, I've been out these streets doing this and this and that.
I've heard a lot of that.
But you know what? We all are here. We all have a platform. We all are important, and all of us matter. And everyone has a purpose, and every single person has a way to affect the change. Just because my way isn't like someone else's doesn't mean that mine is bad or mine isn't enough. And I think you do have these Black people out here that are discouraging where they could be encouraging. They're discouraging people from reaching their potential. You know, they don't want to educate a person who might ask them a question, because it's like, you should know that. Because I know that. I went to HBCU, or my dad, and my dad marched with Martin Luther King, you know.
You know, why does it matter when people had their epiphany about this? Why does that matter? Like, if it happened 2 minutes ago, it happened. You know what I'm saying? So why does it matter when it happened? You know, my thing about it is all you're doing with doing stuff like that is hindering progression with the movement, because we're going to constantly be holding each other down. And when we are outnumbered ×4, that is something we cannot afford to do. Period, point blank. I don't care how you want to put it. You know, no, this is not, you know, military or whatever, but we have to be vigilant. We have to be aware. We have to be on each other's sides. You know, no matter where we are in the world, whether or not we're in the United States or Black people in Australia or Africa, wherever we are, we have to be with each other. We have to be united, because we live in a place. Yes. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with holding each other accountable, because I 100% believe in accountability. I stand by accountability. I think that's what our country leadership lacks right now, is accountability. But in that, you know, you can't beat down. You have to educate and stop trying to find every little piece of everybody or of everything to, you know, tear apart somebody for every little thing. Like, that's not going to do anything for us. So I just think that we just need to find a common ground. So no matter whether or not you've been woke for 50 years or 50 minutes, like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know? That's so stupid to me. I don't understand that.
Yeah, there is something else, and I'm not sure for the other ladies on here if you guys have experienced this, but I've pretty much experienced this most of my life in some capacity. But I've noticed of lately, I've had a couple of guy friends either call me or text me and say they're worried about me. And when I've asked why, it's because they've said that I'm super duper passionate and that they don't want my anger to, in terms of they're talking about in terms of this movement. They don't want my anger to overshadow kind of me having hope or me being positive. And I just found that really interesting because, you know, I just think as passionate women, sometimes we get a bad rap. I think there's a lot of passionate men out here. I think, you know, you have Tupac, you got Jordan, you got a lot of people that everyone idolizes for their passion. You know, Westbrook, you know, the list can go on. And they can speak out and they can be vocal and it's embraced. But I feel like if a woman is vocal or she's passionate, that depending on the ears receiving it, it could be looked at as you're doing too much, or you're being dramatic, or you're being negative and things like that. So it was kind of interesting, even though I don't agree with the whole Noname and J. Cole as far as his approach when he talks about her tone. So that's separate. But when you think about tone or you think about passion, I do think that that passionate women get a bad rap. And that's when I've debated sports, when I've talked about my political views, and I've talked about my social views in a lot of aspects. It's kind of like, calm down, shawty. You're doing a lot. You bring a lot of energy. Chill out. And I don't understand that.
I don't know.
That happens every time, rather than, guys get clapped, patted on the back for being passionate and everything. But women, we get chopped down and, like you said, calm down. I mean, I don't want to calm down. Or
get called bitter.
Right.
Bitter. I'm tired of that word. One thing I am not is bitter.
Right.
One thing I am not is a victim. Don't call me bitter. Don't call me a victim. I'm not. I'm intelligent, and I'm just going to tell you how I feel. It is just that, it's that simple. And I don't feel like, for the most part, I'm a way better writer than I am a speaker. And I don't feel like I come across ignorant. Because before I ever really reply to anything, I think about it. And that's something a lot of people don't do before they reply to people. And because you don't want to be caught saying something stupid. I don't want to be Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying? And then have to go back and delete my messages or whatever the case. I don't know. I just think that there's nothing wrong with being passionate. And I think that we need to stop confusing passionate, like what you said, with bitter and angry and all of those other negative terms to describe somebody who's just voicing their opinion and something that they are speaking on passionately, whether or not it be sports or politics or whatever the subject. You know what I mean?
I actually have a question. So for the women of the podcast, do y'all ever find yourselves thinking, I back our Black men 100%, with our chest, with every being? We are going to protect our Black men, especially with this movement going on. Do you feel like the same thing is reciprocated from Black men? Because I feel like Noname is talking from a hurtful place. And I think she was triggered because of things that happened that don't have to do with J. Cole. But do y'all agree, first and foremost? I'll ask that first.
I've heard a lot about this lately, especially with Breonna Taylor, and the same energy not going towards her as it has gone to George Floyd and some of the other causes. As a whole, I will say no, I don't feel the same energy. I don't feel like we're backed or supported as much as we back and support not only Black men, but really the world. I think we're always on the front lines when it comes to LGBTQ plus with any type of injustice, with really anything. You have a Black woman that's speaking loud and proud and supportive and nurturing the cause. And I don't necessarily feel, just like Malcolm X said, I think we're the most disrespected people or Black women. I just think we are. I do think we're the lowest of the totem pole.
We're the most disrespected group, the most misunderstood group, the most, and yet we prevail, and we sorry y'all. We prevail. Like I always said, I'm proud to be part of a demographic or a group of people who is right now number one in regards to graduating from college.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yes. So I think that says a lot about what a Black woman has to offer. I'm running around, y'all. So I'm about to get off and say bye. But this is a really good discussion. Y'all keep the show going, though. But yeah, but that's what I feel like. I feel like there's nothing wrong with being a strong Black woman, and we need to stop making it like there's something wrong.
Right.
And we need to start supporting each other, women and men alike.
I agree.
All right. So with that being said, I mean,
Right. Daddy changed the world. Wait, we don't. He did what?
Daddy changed the world.
Daddy changed the world. That's right. Daddy changed the world. Wait, we don't. I need you guys to understand. I need you to understand how painful this is. I need you to understand how painful it is to be reminded every day that your race means nothing. And that isn't the case anymore. That is never the case anymore. We are going to try today. We are a physical representation of our support for George Floyd. Bang on them. Bang on them. Bang on them. We are a physical representation on our support for Sandra Bland. Bang on them. We are a physical representation on our support for Trayvon Martin. We are a physical representation of our support for Stephen Lawrence. For Mark Duggan.
I watched myself where the cops go to the SUV where Floyd is sitting. They get him out. At first I thought there was a struggle right there, but it looks as if they reached in and pulled him out and immediately handcuffed him. It was very quick. And James, then they walk him over to the sidewalk and sit him down. No problem. He's still cuffed. Would you agree with that procedure that far?
Yes, so far at that point in time, it's textbook, I do agree with it.
I mean, I'm not sure why he had to be cuffed on a counterfeit 20. I don't know what was said inside Floyd's SUV that he was sitting in, but he got arrested. And so far, so good. He's cuffed, he's sitting on the sidewalk, no problem. Where does everything go sideways? Why are there riots? Because this guy was killed by a cop. That's why.
That's it. Don't think for a second that he represents who these cops are from all over the county and around this nation. We go out there to help people, not do that nonsense.
Because peacefully tonight. We thank you and we pray in your name, the Son, the precious Holy Spirit. He's in charge of everything. Thank you.
Oh, it takes 1 second to get your knee down. That's it.
Daddy changed the world.
Wait, we don't. He did what?
Daddy changed the world.
Daddy changed the world.